Hello there. This is Grey's Anatomy Uncut, a podcast where we discuss and analyze episodes of Grey's Anatomy. My name is Emily Hazard.
And I'm Becca Anderson.
And today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 2, Enough is Enough, No More Tears, in parentheses. Originally sung as a duet by Donna Summer and Barbra Streisand. Original air date is October 2nd, 2005. Written by James D. Parriott, who was responsible for Zona. And directed by Peter Horton. 17.57 million viewers. Nice.
Up or down from last week?
I don't remember, and I don't really care enough to look it up.
Wow, okay.
I want to say it's down again. Actually, you know what? Now I have to look it up. Hang on.
See, if it's down, it's probably because they saw who it was written by and was like, damn, not another Zona. Which sucks, because this episode's actually really good.
It's down from last week. Yeah.
Yeah, because they saw who wrote it.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And they were scared.
Freaking Zona.
That Zona was going to come back. Oh no, he fell down the stairs again.
We're back! So anyway, why don't you do your opening statement?
Alright, so this episode starts off in probably one of my favorite scenes ever. This episode really focuses on relationships and forces everyone into a situation where they are forced to kind of face the problems with their relationship, or kind of like come to terms of what happened with these relationships. But the cool thing that I really like about this episode is that it's not just romantic relationships. You know, you really, when you think about this episode having the theme of like a relationship thing, and especially about what's happened in previous episodes, you would think that, you know, it would be focused on romantic relationships. But that's the kind of cool thing about Grey's, is that they also include a lot about like family relationships, friendships, and that kind of thing. And they just don't give you what you would expect.
The thing that I like about this episode is that it doesn't seem to drop off at all from last week's episode. So it's not like, oh, the season premiere, now let's settle in. I feel like a lot of shows like settle in and only amazing stuff happens in the premieres and the finales, you know? But this one, like, it just keeps the bar high the entire time. And, like, it has these laugh out loud moments mixed in with these, like, extremely serious moments. And I think it was around this time, or, like, when most people watch it, it's around this time in the show when there's just, like, something special about this show. Like, something special about the cast, something about the writing, the way it all comes together, the way it's shot. Like, everything, it's like all these pieces are coming together, and people just are like, yeah, this show, there's something special about it. Specifically Season 2. Mm-hmm. I love Season 2. I love watching, like, it's like studying the incline of the show. Because this is when Grey's is at the height of its power, is in this season. So, yeah. Alright, so Suddenly I See by KT Tunstall?
Tunstall? Sure,
let's go with that.
Starts. And we roll in to the opening scene between Meredith and Christina, which is just amazing. Do you want to do the voiceover, or you want me to do the voiceover?
I'll do it.
All right.
I have an aunt who, whenever she poured anything for you, would say when. My aunt would say when, and of course we never did. We don't say when because there's something about the possibility of more. More tequila, more love, more anything. More is better. So this cool shot of, like, Meredith on her back, it's like, she, like, rolls into the shot, too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Lays down into it.
Of course, wearing her famous Dartmouth shirt. And I just love the interaction between this, because, you know, you have Meredith lying on the ground, and then you have Christina who's just lying in the bathtub.
And she has to, like, pull the door open and closed. That's the best part.
Like, I think that's my favorite part, is that she could have just left the door open for this whole scene, but no, they had her, like, continuously, like, come in and out. And that's the thing I love, is, like, at first you think it's just Meredith. You're like, oh, she's just talking. And then all of a sudden you, like, hear the door start to open, and then they, like, flip over to Christina, and she's just like, whoosh.
It's not that Burke broke up with me. It's how he broke up with me. Like it was a business. Like it was a business transaction. Like, he's the boss of me. He is the boss of you. What's worse is that I care.
And it's just amazing. And they're, like, basically going through the whole thing is, like, Meredith is like, oh, I feel horrible. And Christina's like, look, the problem is estrogen. And she's like, no, the problem's tequila.
Just like there's this interaction is so amazing. Just the back and forth between them, like I used to be all business, and then he goes and gets me pregnant with the stupid boy penis. Like it's just so good.
Their back and forth is amazing. And then the bathroom door opens, and Izzy and George walk in.
It's George.
To basically, now everyone knows, that Meredith dumped Derek and that Christina was sleeping with Burke, and now that's not happening. But yet, Meredith is still the only person that knows that Christina is pregnant.
And then George, so you really broke up with Shepard. I feel empty. And then Izzy, 2 hours of vomiting will do that to you. No, I feel empty.
Christina, you're lucky. I feel pissed off. And you're like, ugh.
That's gotta be one of the best Christina lines, like, scenes in this entire show. You're lucky. I feel pissed off.
It's just a great scene between them.
And then, oh my god, here we go. This scene. Okay, so we cut to, like, the Seattle Grace parking lot, right? And, like, they're all getting out of the car. It's all four of them. And Meredith says stop before we see who she's saying it to. And then we pan over to Derek, and he's standing there, and he goes, what? And then she goes, you're stalking me.
Which he has been for the entire show.
Like, I actually kind of forgot that this line was in here, and so I'm just going to pretend that, like, they retroactively changed the script for us, because that is exactly what we've been saying this whole time. I think he's in the non-parking spot again, too.
At least he didn't almost run her over this time.
I just love this. Like, can we go through the lines? Can we do dinner theater here? Okay, I'll be Meredith, and I'm going to start here. You're stalking me. Stop it.
Did we not communicate last night?
Yes.
Did you hear what I was saying?
Your wife screwed your best friend.
And from that point on, she no longer existed to me anymore?
You have marital amnesia.
No, come on. I bared my soul to you last night.
It's not enough.
How can that not be enough?
When you waited 2 months to tell me, and I had to find out by her showing up all leggy and fabulous and telling me herself, you pulled the plug. I'm a sink with an open drain. Anything you say runs right out. There is no enough.
George, she probably could have picked a better metaphor.
Give her a break. She's got a hangover. That's what I'm talking about. Like these like super serious moments where like Meredith and Derek are screaming about their personal lives in front of a very busy hospital, but then like they cut it with these really funny moments too. It's what Grey's Anatomy does best, is it doesn't take itself too seriously in the beginning seasons, and when it starts taking itself really seriously later on, it just loses its touch, really.
Yeah. And I really like the whole part is, he is like, oh, like, I told you everything, and she's kind of like, it's still not enough.
Yeah, and Derek just, like, does not compute.
Doesn't understand it, and it, like, you really have to look at it from Meredith's perspective and kind of be like, yeah, he told her the truth and told her what happened, but at the same point, he could have told her that 2 months ago.
Exactly. And speaking of 2 months, this is what I was talking about, how, like, this is where I get the timeline from. That's why I think the first 3 seasons is 1 year. Mm-hmm. Also because something Izzy says in season 3. Mm-hmm. But if the first season is only 2 months, then yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's just, yeah.
And then I don't know what it is or why, but I think Meredith is the god of weather in Seattle because she can stand in rain and be completely dry.
Yeah. It's also a complete sun shower in the scene because it's like sunny but raining.
I'm Meredith, bitch. I can be dry.
I don't get wet.
And then there's like Burke and Derek, trying to one up each other again. Okay, so then the trauma comes in, and Bailey gives this like guy that's been dead or whatever in the ambulance to George. O'Malley, get him into a bay and save him. But he's dead. Did you not just hear me? He's not dead until we say he's dead.
And I just love like George, and then later they're all like, "We got more victims. Let's move people." And George is just standing there, but he's dead. You're like.
Yeah, and then of course Olivia is helping. It's George, Olivia, and Meredith, which, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure George is, like, about to have a heart attack in this room. He probably thinks that this is, like, sexy time for him, but it's not. But anyway, I wanted to... Patient. Yeah, over the dead patient. No, you know who would actually have sex on a dead patient?
Christina.
I was actually not going to say Christina. I was going to say Meredith and Derek would probably do it. They would probably, like feed off each other.
Oh, I thought you were going to say feed off the dead body. I was like, what?
No, that's Zona.
I was like, when did we become zombies here? Like, what?
No, okay, out of any couple on this show that would, like, have sex on corpse.
Can we do future couples?
Yeah, and if it's too bad, I'll edit it out.
Christina and Owen.
Ew. I mean, when Christina has sex with Owen, she's basically having sex with a corpse, right?
Because he's dead because he's a ginger. Oh well.
He's also really fugly. So anyway.
Ginger Joe. Let's get that out. We'll talk about him later.
Oh, yes, we will. So anyway, I wanted to talk about George's first patient in this episode. I mean, he's dead, obviously. Mm-hmm. It's a clear metaphor to me of, like, George and Olivia's relationship is literally dead on arrival. What is the metaphor with George's second patient? I was thinking represents Meredith and George's relationship.
What second patient are you talking about?
The decerebrate one, where he pushes her chest, and it's like because he thought that the relationship was dead, but now that Meredith and Derek have broken up, there seems to be a tiny little sign of life.
I don't know why, but I'm getting like major deja vu talking about this. But this could just be for me reading it.
Yeah. But isn't that kind of clever? Like, I actually think that that's there on purpose. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I think the whole theme of this episode is relationships, and even the patients kind of fit those themes and are, like, exemplifying. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the word, but I know what you're saying.
Those,
yeah, there you go.
Like, relationships between the characters and stuff. And I think it's also very important, like, who the interns and doctors are with certain patients.
Yeah, that's that's literally my favorite thing about Grey's Anatomy. Like, I enjoy the ships, I enjoy the humor, but when it gets right down to it, comparing and, like, drawing parallels from the patients to the doctors is, like, my favorite thing. Because it's so, like, rich and interesting, always.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next time that Bailey checks up on George. He's still trying to save this, like, dead patient or whatever, and Meredith gets a new patient who, I gotta tell you, I actually like this guy.
I love Mr. Hubble.
Yeah, like, he's a weirdo, but I love him. But anyway, we haven't met him yet. We just know it's a bowel obstruction. Cut to Richard's room. Oh, God.
Wait, you didn't talk about the Bailey and O'Malley scene.
Alright, you want to do it?
You literally just went to Mr. Hubble. So basically, Bailey walks in, and she's like, oh, like, what do you do next? And George's like, I'm calling him dead. And Bailey's like, no, you're not.
No, I like this, though. What would you do next, O'Malley? I would call it to save him.
And then I just still love, I've got a bowel obstruction for you. Fun. Well, at least your patient is still alive.
True. I mean, accurate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then Olivia, what next, doctor? And you're like, damn.
And George is like, I hate my life. And then cut to Richard's room where Derek is trying to examine him, and Richard's reacting how most people would if Derek was touching them. He's just like, okay, that's it. Stop it. And Derek's like, no, that's not it. Hold still, Richard. How can I hold still when you're poking me? I was like, you're a doctor. Have you not seen this?
All right, so then we get introduced to Adele, who's the chief's wife.
First impressions?
I really like her, but she definitely, which we'll see in the scene, she has a lot of resentment towards the hospital. Mm-hmm. Just like how she kind of says some of the lines and stuff, you can just tell it's like...
It's there.
Like,
yeah.
Just dripping in sarcasm and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I honestly, like, don't really understand why the chief didn't tell her about, like, brain surgery. Like, did he really not want her to worry, or is this an example of, like, their marital problems?
I mean, probably, yeah. But didn't he say she was on vacation?
Yeah, but, like, still, like, wouldn't you at least call your wife?
Yeah. They have issues.
I would call you if I was getting surgery on vacation.
Aw.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Like, brain surgery, like, I'd call people. I'd be like, yo, I might be dead in a couple hours. Like,
just so you know, Derek Shepherd is cutting into my brain, so all bets out the window.
He might leave to go talk to Meredith.
There's absolutely nothing on this MRI, but I'm going to cut into your brain. And then you're in 5 kinds of trouble, Mr. Man.
Which is, like...
That makes me uncomfortable.
Weirdest nickname ever, but
that makes me really uncomfortable. Should we start calling him Mr. Man?
No.
Mr. Man Webber?
No. Mr. Chief.
Mr. Sir. Did you ever watch that?
No.
Holes?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Sir.
I don't remember that. Huh. I haven't seen Holes in like forever though. So.
Adele kind of reminds me of like a mafia wife that would end up taking over the business. You know what I mean? Like she
like murder Richard and be like,
yeah, exactly. She would like kill her husband in like a power play to achieve her rightful spot on the throne.
Could you just imagine that? Like Patricia like walked into the office and then all of a sudden the chair turns around and it's Adele. And Patricia's like, what? And she's just like, I'm running this hospital now.
Actually, I take it back. I think Adele would be more likely to have sex on top of a corpse. And it would be Richard's.
Oh my god. Patricia would do it too.
That's so true. No. Oh my god. Twisted Mister. He's there. Oh, please.
Better question. Who wouldn't have the show?
No. You know what? It would be somebody else, and then Oh Please would just be standing in the corner, like, doing her side-eyed. And she'd be like, oh, please. I can't believe you're having sex on top of that corpse.
I have to perform an autopsy on them. Oh, please.
I've been demoted. I can only work with dead patients now.
Oh, gosh.
What was that line from Scream Queens? Are you telling me you're not turned on by the sight of dead bodies? Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh, and then I love Richard. You called my wife. Derek, you called mine.
And then I said the chief should really, like, seriously be reconsidering bringing Derek into this hospital. He is a drama tornado.
The thing is, like, he's not, like... It's not even that he, like, brought a lot of drama with him. It's just the fact that he's dealing with this drama and, like, he's, like, a middle school girl. Like, he's just like, you called my mom, I'm gonna call yours.
And the fact that, like, he does everything at the hospital. Like, there is no, like, at-home time. Probably because he lives in the middle of nowhere.
In a trailer.
In a shit trailer. But yeah.
It's just, wow. And then Addison comes in.
Of course.
And I love the fact that Addison and Adele are best friends.
Yeah, they're besties.
Like, they're literally like Addison's like, oh, look, I saw a fabulous-looking woman walk by. And they're like, oh, honey. And they have, like, this little, like, woman crush thing. And then she, like, basically, like, she's like, I told Richard I knew you and Derek would get back together. And I love literally the image of, like, Adele and Richard sitting at their kitchen table. And Adele just being like, Richard, I know Addison and Derek are good. And, like, gossiping. And he's just, like, sitting there like, wait, what?
Is that your Adele voice?
Yeah.
Are we going to use that when she comes back on the show?
Sure.
Okay, sweet. And, well, okay, and then Derek starts doing that thing where, like, he doesn't talk to the one person in the room, but he talks about them. Like, you're right, he's, like, literally a teenage girl. Like, he's just, Addison and I are over Adele. And Addison's standing right there, and she's just like, this freaking
It's not
bitch.
like we're divorced, practically divorced.
Practically divorced. Yeah, and he does the thing where he, like, doesn't look at her when he says it.
You've had counseling? We've had adultery. That was enough.
Yeah,
like,
Derek is so determined to be the worst person in the room right now.
He's literally being a teenage girl, where they're like, honey, like, you need to get over it. And they're like, no, Mom, I'm never gonna get over this. You've ruined my life forever. That's literally Derek. You should give her a chance, Derek. It's good to see you. Completely ignored.
Derek's like, don't tell me what to do.
So then we meet...
Kind of like the main patients of the episode.
Yeah. And I really love this scene of... Basically, it's the son and the wife telling Alex and...
I think it's Christina
what happened. And I love the back and forth because it's basically... almost immediately understand that she is not telling the full truth. Mm-hmm. Because the son is talking about, oh yeah, like my parents have been fighting at breakfast. Like my dad is really ugly when he gets mad. He ran 3 stoplights before we even got on the freeway and all this stuff. And then you have her and she's like, he's a really good driver. Like, I think he saw something in the middle of the road. And then
we were having a really nice morning. I remember that. Yeah.
And like all this stuff. But I love just the camera of like the back and forth of like cutting in and out of their like sentences.
Especially because it's one of those things that like you watch the first time and you really can't appreciate it. Like you have to rewatch at least that scene, but at most the whole episode multiple times to understand what's going on because you can't orient yourself. It's cutting so quickly. Mm-hmm. It's great. Good job, P. Hort.
So I was like, I kind of said, I really like how the first continuous, it's like a full continuous shot where they're in the boy's room and they slowly back out of his room and then like go right next door and then like go into the mom's room. Mm-hmm. I really like that shot. And I just really like the quick back and forth because it really emphasizes, like you really get the fact that their stories aren't matching up and you really get like almost immediately that like she isn't telling the truth and the son is, because I feel like if they had just done the 2 stories back to back, it wouldn't have been as like evident.
Well, it makes you very, like, uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. There's something about it that, like, you feel uneasy when you watch it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's actually, like, one of Peter Horton's best, like, moments in this episode, I think. Mm-hmm. So then we, like, cut back to George, and Bailey is back to check up on him, and I just want to read this one quote because it's important later. If they're dead or dying when they come through those doors, we hump and hump hard. Why?
For the experience.
No. What else? There's something more. You think on that. It'll come to you.
I just love George. I can see his heart that's not beating.
And he's talking about George and Olivia's relationship right now.
And Bailey is just like, keep going.
Try again. We cut over to the best guy, Mr. Hubble. We finally get to, like, full on meet him. Meredith, you know, Mr. Hubble, it might make things easier for yourself if you just tell us what you've ingested. We'll know once we see your films.
You have the most beautiful features. They're delicate, almost porcelain. I love him.
Like a doll. He might eat her.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Mr. Hubble, whatever you've ingested could kill you. Are you sure you don't want to tell me what's got you blocked up inside?
I just like, it might offend you.
Is it drugs?
It's not drugs.
Mr. Hubble.
I promise, it's not drugs.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad it's not drugs. It's drugs.
And then they immediately cut over to the radiologist going, it's drugs.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And then he goes, my guess, cocaine.
Which you're like, what?
And he's like, thanks for that opinion. And Meredith is like, ugh.
And it's amazing. So basically, then we cut to Bailey in the x-ray room with Alex and Christina. They're kind of going over their patients or whatever. The son is fine, but then Christina puts up the x-ray for the wife. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of healed fractures and everything, which, as Bailey says, she's either a bull rider or she's abused.
Yeah, they know right away. Like, there's no hiding it from doctors.
Mm-hmm. And then as soon as, you know, Alex is like, oh, like, kid said the accident was road rage, and Christina's like, whoa, that's not the story I got. And so they know kind of basically immediately what is going on. But
then Meredith walks in with some little comic relief.
Oh, yes.
And she puts up her films.
It's drugs.
Yeah, and they're all like, it's drugs, whatever.
And then my favorite is Alex. Are you sure they're balloons? And Bailey goes, oh, you have a reason to believe they're not balloons? And Alex just goes, this one has got a face. And they just zoom in on this one picture.
And, like, Bailey, like, turns down the lights, and she's like, they all do.
And they just zoom in on this one face, and you're like, what the hell is that? Like, because
he swallowed the heads of 10 Judy dolls.
Because literally the face that they zoom in on looks demonic.
It's creepy AF. Like, no thank you.
It looks like this man swallowed 10 demons. 10 demon little Barbie dolls. Judy dolls, excuse me.
Well, they can't say Barbie. That's why they say Judy.
I love the show. Like, on Chopped, my favorite is, like, they'll, like, have things, and they're like, chocolate sandwich cookies. And you're like, so... Oreos.
Yeah. I love these chocolate sandwich cookies with frosting in the middle.
And literally, like, all of the chefs are just like, yeah, so with my chocolate sandwich cookies. And you're like, so Oreos. Yeah. But, like, they're like, Judy's. And you're like, Barbies.
Yeah.
Barbies or Kelly's? Or is it a Ken?
Who knows? So anyway, like, it goes to commercial. We come back, and, like, they're sitting in that one nurse's station that I love a lot. They used it last time in 108, I think. And
that's when the Eskimos on it, right?
Yeah, and that's also when Izzy was talking with George about, like, calling her mom or whatever.
Yes.
And Christina, oh my gosh, she's just, like, leaning back in, like, a rolly chair or whatever. My mother used to buy me Judy dolls. Manhattan Judy, Surfer Judy, Disco Judy. Meredith, I always wanted one. And then Christina, I dissected them. Cut off their arms, shaved their heads.
My favorite is, like, Meredith, you know, on the thing where it was Meredith was like, I always wanted one. And you were like, this surprises me. And then Christina has her line, and I was like, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like Christina's mother would, like, walk in her room, and, like, Christina would just have them, like, hanging on the walls. Like,
and the like, mother would just be like, okay.
And, like, have, like, collections, like, this is the pile for their arms, this is for their legs. And, like, just be, like, that creepy, like, with, like, creepy, like, red lighting, too.
This is a minor spoiler, but Christina's mother is amazing. I love her mother.
We'll meet her eventually.
Yeah. But anyway, does it surprise you that Meredith wanted a Judy doll? Because it almost seems like... It seems like Meredith kind of became the woman that she is today because of the things that her mother decided for her at such a young age when she was, like, impressionable.
Yeah.
Like, do you think if she had, like, a really supportive mother, she might have turned out a completely different person?
Mm-hmm. I think so. And I mean, we haven't really figured it out yet, but, like, her father wasn't really in her life that much either. And so I think that made a huge impact on her as well.
So if you had to come up with Judy dolls for each of the characters, do you have any ideas?
I have some.
For Derek, I have Loner Judy.
I have My Life is Worse Than Yours, Judy.
Yeah. Meredith is Please Talk About Me.
Yeah. I said Complaining Judy.
Yeah, exactly. Why isn't it back to me yet, Judy? Can we talk about Derek, Judy?
I'm sorry, my life? What?
I'm sorry, were you talking about your life?
No.
Izzy, I just said Barbie Judy, because that's exactly what she is.
I said Model Judy. Mm-hmm. Kind of same thing.
For George, I said Sif Judy.
I said Sissy Judy or Sad Judy.
Sad Judy. Alex, I said Jock Judy, but then Evil Spawn Judy.
I did Evil Spawn Judy.
Yeah. Addison is Superior at All Things Judy.
And I said Emperor Judy.
Emperor.
Rule everything. Ruler of all that is perfect.
Actually, that's a very close to next episode's quote.
What about Christina?
I wrote Terror Judy / No Social Skills Judy.
I did Brainiac Judy. I didn't come.
What about Burke?
I'm as interesting as a piece of bread, Judy.
What? Christina, will you go on a date with me?
You can add some jelly to my jam.
Will you add some jelly to my bread, if you know what I mean?
To make me more interesting.
Give me a little sugar.
No, he'd have to have sugar-free jelly because Burke is healthy.
He is healthy. He, like, does, like, abs later in this show. Socially awkward Judy. But he's him as a character, like, if you're studying, like, a television show, he's not boring, but, like...
Just in comparison to every other character on the show, you're like, because he's the most normal, like, everyone else is, like, has these crazy lives, and Burke is just sitting there, like, where the hell did I come to work? Like,
he's just like...
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
though?
exactly.
Like, compared to everyone else on the show.
He's so normal.
He's as boring as a loaf of bread.
Okay. And then Christina goes, they're sexist, distorted devil toys that create unrealistic image expectations carrying to the porn-driven minds of men.
Bailey, you swallowed a bitter pill this morning, Yang.
They're dolls. Gray, you call for a psych consult. Twisted Mister.
Alright, so then we cut back to Mr. Siebert's OR. I don't know why.
Oh, God.
I don't know why that was necessary.
Oh, God.
So basically, he has a bad liver from drinking.
Yeah, and so they kind of like
lost my spot.
They kind of like determined that he's been on the list for a while, and so they determined that like Scotty, his son, has been like thinking about donating liver, but it's not something you just like up and do. He's been like having counseling and stuff like that, and so like now they're kind of like pushing him to make a decision.
Well, because at this point, as the doctor says, like
he's not even going to make it off the table.
He can't make it off the table unless he has a new liver.
Yeah.
And so basically they're like, Scotty, you know, it's now or never because like your dad is going to die.
But anyway, we get this really amazing scene with Alex and Scotty in the elevator. And I'm not sure if there's anyone else in there with them, maybe like an orderly, but for the most part it's just these two guys. And it's like completely silent and like no music is playing in the background, and Alex just says, this guy came in this morning with 10 Judy doll heads in his abdomen. Is that some kind of sick or what? I mean, when you think about it, those things can't be that easy to swallow. They still got their hair on them. That's some bad spaghetti. And then he goes, dude's crapping toys.
Mm-hmm. And Scotty doesn't really say anything.
Yeah, and then Alex does this really good monologue, so do you want to read it or should I?
You know, when you're little, you can hide. ignore the shouting, the screaming. You pretend like you're someplace else. Then when you get older, bigger, you feel like you should be doing something to stop it, to protect her. And when you can't, you don't know who to be angry at, your old man or yourself. Usually it's yourself. And I feel like that, it's just so telling about Alex, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because you kind of realize, I think he has, like, a little bit of that.
Well, I mean, Scott goes, so what do you do about the anger? And Alex goes, me? I think about the guy who eats doll heads. He has problems. So it's like, he acknowledged that, yes, he has that anger, too. And it's pretty obvious that Alex is talking about himself here. Mm-hmm. I love the choice that they made to have him hit the bed the entire scene, where it's like bum 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 bum, because
he does that later too. In another scene.
It's such like a small little choice, but it like raises the anxiety in me for some reason.
It's almost
when I
like
watch
a heartbeat. So it kind of has like that effect.
It's really good. I like that he's hitting the side of his bed. I can't even pinpoint exactly why it's so good. It's just a really good choice to have him do that. It's like he's anxious and he can't, like, sit still. It's great.
And then we, like, switch because basically Izzy comes and finds them and is like, hey, like, we need to talk to you guys. We just cut over. And
to freaking Leah. She's got to be the worst patient this time.
And literally, just her first line, they just flip over and she just goes, Bob liked his beers.
Yeah, I couldn't handle it. It makes me laugh every time. And she says it's so sad. She's like, Bob liked his beers?
And you're like, what? Did he like them more than you? Like, I don't know.
Well, that's pretty clear, yeah.
And so basically that's where we learn, that Scotty is the only match.
Yeah.
For his father.
But you've already seen the episode, so we're all good.
Yeah.
Christina is very much into, like, protecting the woman. And Burke is very clinical, and he's like, he's just like, what, we're the doctors. We leave that crap for the social workers. Which, I mean, I kind of agree with that, but, like, I don't know. We're showing that Christina kind of has a heart a little bit, Like, it's not like they are real people to her, which is nice. But anyway, I thought we could read this one part. Mm-hmm. Well, if it were up to me.
Think like a surgeon, Dr. Yang. We have a dying patient and a liver that could save him.
Well, this is more complicated than that.
No, for social workers, yes. For the family, not for you. It isn't up to you.
Yeah, you've made that perfectly clear.
Well, I'm glad we have an understanding.
I'm sure you are. I love that double meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to you. Like, that's the part that annoys... That's the part that's, like, getting Christina. Is that, like, she had no say in this breakup.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, it's not up to you.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, you've made that perfectly clear, both in this situation and in our relationship.
Yeah. And I love that line. I've always loved that part.
Mm-hmm. And see, I think that's kind of interesting because it almost mirrors... I feel in a way like what Leah... And we really figure this out later. It's like, I feel like she thinks that she has no choice.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, what is happening to her. And I feel like that's where, like, Christina is. And, like, even though Christina is like, I don't understand, like, why aren't you leaving him and, like, all this stuff. But, like, it's the same thing. Like, Christina didn't have a choice in her ending her relationship with Burke.
I know. But anyway, let's cut to something a little bit more lighthearted. I want to, like, drench this scene in amber. Burke is, like, looking at the films that... Burke is like, drugs? It's Meredith's films. And Meredith goes, 10 Judy doll heads. Seriously? Yes. And then he holds up the films, and Patricia is there with him. And then she goes, oh, I can see their little faces. And she does this voice where she's like, help me, let me out. And Burke, like, whips down the films and, like, looks at her in this, like, oh my God way. And I was just like, Patricia, like, you own my heart. You are my hero.
And the best part is, like, she, like, smiles. Like, she's just smiling during it. She's like, help, let me out. But, like, has this, like, smile on her face, like, ah.
She's like, I'm funny. And everyone else is, like, horrified.
And Burke and Meredith are like, who the hell are you? Like, what?
No, actually, you know what the best part about Meredith's character is that if you watch her in most of the scenes, she has a face on that's kind of like, I actually don't care about this. Like, she's like, this isn't about me, and I don't care. Oh, and then we have Adele's kind of monologue here when Burke goes into the chief's office and finds Adele there, ruling.
I was about to say, plot twist, she actually murdered him.
Where's the chief? At the bottom of a river. Gave him some. I gave him some cement shoes. He's all good. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who you're talking about. I'm the chief. And you're like,
I am the chief now.
Do you want me to read
Yeah.
it? If you can't be here obsessing, he wants stuff to obsess with at home. I'll be done and out of your way in a moment. It's always something, isn't it? Some emergency surgery, some annoying administrative problem. Being chief is a lot like being an intern. The work never stops. You know, when I found out Richard had a tumor, you know what I felt? Relieved. I was hoping he'd finally be forced to retire. Ah, that has your attention, doesn't it? How we both would like that to happen. I could finally book a vacation for 2. You know, it says she chuckles. You know you're perfect for this job, Preston. Unattached, obsessive. This hospital, this job, it's enough for you, isn't it?
What a great like line at the end. One, it goes back to the episode title, and 2, like everyone is telling him this is enough for you, Preston, and like in his heart he knows no, it's not because I love Christina, you know.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I feel like at one point, you know, earlier in the show, it would have been enough for him. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that, I mean, we're on season 2, but this is only episode 11 of the show, and he has already changed this much, and it's kind of cool.
Do you think that Burke has ever dated or fallen in love with anybody in the past? Like, I don't. He kind of strikes me as somebody who like has never really dated that much.
Half of me says no, but half of me also like thinks, you know how like obsessed he was with the job at first. Like half of me also thinks that maybe he did have a relationship go like really, really sour, and that's why he was like, all right, from now on I'm going to be all business, all. So like, I don't know. It's interesting.
I would like to know that. So we cut over to like Scott, Izzy, and Alex. So, and you know what? Finally, give Izzy some scenes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This is fantastic.
And you know what? Like, this is supposed to be like, oh, Izzy, this is so awkward. I don't feel awkward at all. I love this scene because Izzy is awesome. The upside is that the liver is the only organ that regenerates itself. I mean, they'll only take half of yours and it'll be back to normal size in 2 months. You probably won't be running any marathons anytime soon, but... Dr. Stevens, can I see you outside for a moment? And I was just like, Izzy's amazing.
I love it because she's just like, what are you talking about, Alex? Like, I just made a great joke.
Like, Izzy literally has an inability to stop things coming out of her mouth. And that's the best part of her. Like, she cannot censor anything. Mm-hmm.
But I kind of also like how... So we have this scene, like, there's this little conversation between Alex and Izzy. And I really like how angry Alex is. And I think...
It shocks her.
It really... Because he's literally just like his last sentence is, you have no idea what is going on in that kid's head. None. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, was just so telling of, like, Alex is just being very protective of this kid. And, like, I feel like he is just, like, I know exactly what this kid's going through. And so, like...
Yeah. This, like, really... Like, Alex doesn't get bothered by things much at all emotionally. But this is This is, like, his, like... pressure point.
Yeah.
Like, this is his one problem.
Yeah.
Also, oh my god, we're cutting over to Bailey, Meredith, and Twisted Mister. He has a name. Raj. I never knew that. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna call him Twisted Mister. Henceforth, you will not be named Raj. Or it could be that he simply enjoys it. I've seen a lot of strange things in strange places, but how does he enjoy this? He'd enjoyed it when they came out.
I do need to hear that.
And then Bailey's face is like, ugh.
You deal with crazy people all day, and it's coming off on you.
He is crazy. And then Addison comes in to grace us with her amazing presence.
For, like, the one scene in this episode.
Mm-hmm. Addison kind of, like, steals Meredith away from Bailey for a minute, and she goes, I assume he told you why he left me. Meredith.
And I like how she's just kind of like, Dr. Shepard, with all due respect, this has nothing to do with me.
Really? So you didn't take him back? Good girl.
And in the future, I'd appreciate it if we could keep our relationship strictly professional.
Meredith, sometimes people do desperate things to get someone's attention. Mm-hmm. And Meredith is like, see, here's the thing, I don't care. And then she walks away. Mm-hmm. Her face is like, don't care. There are 2 sides to every story, Addison says. And she does, she yells this in the middle of a hospital hallway and does look around.
Yeah. Because
she is a little bit embarrassed. But this is so interesting to me. Because, like, in episode 1, we thought Derek was evil until we heard the story of, like, why he left. And now when she's saying there's another side to this story, I automatically want to hear it, like, right away.
I mean, I'm really intrigued because, you know, there's definitely something else going on there and you don't really know. And obviously she seems to think that it's enough.
Does it seem weird that she wants Meredith's understanding? Or do you think it's like a power play? Like, why does Addison care? Well, maybe she's just trying to, like, figure out if, like, are they back together now? Like, is my husband still on the market?
See, I think that's one of the things. But I also think, in a way, I think she understands that Meredith, in a way, like, weirdly enough, I feel like runs the opinions of a lot of the other interns at that hospital. Mm-hmm. And I think, so she almost wants her to be like, yeah, like, I did something wrong, but, like, there's more to the story than what he's telling you.
You know, I like that analysis, because I've always noticed that, like, for some reason, Meredith is always the, like I think I've said this before, she's always, like, the most immature one, yet everyone looks up to her. Everyone in the hospital looks up to her.
Leader.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's the moral high ground, yet she always is screwing up and always doing things that are, like, immoral? I don't know. Whatever. It's strange, but I love it. So Go Tell the World by Joy Zipper starts playing, and it's the lunch scene.
This is amazing. They walk up to the empty table and there's 10 headless Judy dolls sitting all arranged in a circle. And I love it. And, like, everyone's like, oh, that's gross. And Christina just picks one up and goes, oh, look, see Judy fly.
Well, because Izzy's like, who would do that? And then they all turn around.
And Alex is sitting there.
Just sitting there. And then Christina chucks, like, a naked Judy doll at Alex's head. And he has to duck.
Look, see Judy fly. Just, like, throws it at him.
I like this part. Olivia walks up. Hey, George. Hey. And then, like, Olivia's like, okay,
and, like,
bitch.
walks away. And they're all like, George.
She was trying to make up with you. You should go sit with her. No, I should. And then he's, like, playing with these naked headless Judy dolls, and he's, like, making them do, like, splits. And I'm like, George, what in the hell are you doing? And Izzy, you shouldn't let a little Sif get in the way. It's not the Sif. It's so the Sif. It's not the Sif. Then what is it? And then Izzy's like, oh. And Meredith, of course, what? What is it? Out with it.
There's this other girl.
Izzy, another girl? You have another girl?
And I don't, like, I love Christina and her, like, she's just like, what? You have two girls?
That line makes me laugh every single time. Like, when she's just like, oh my god, I can't believe that George has another girl. Like,
like, how the hell?
He hasn't told her he likes her yet. Izzy, we are not in high school. George has a little
Derek,
crush.
They are.
Yeah, well,
Derek's in middle school.
Yeah, Derek's also not in high school. It is a thing that is very personal. One day I would like to build on this thing with this other girl, woman. She's all woman. And then Meredith is like, I love this whole scene. Like, it's amazing. Get ready. I'm just going to do every line here. She, like...
Do it in voices.
Okay, yes. Okay, she takes the Judy doll away. What? I don't know what voice to do.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? No, it doesn't work. What are you doing? I was playing with No, George, with Olivia. What are you doing with Olivia? Oh, nothing. You're letting her think that you're emotionally available. You're letting her think that she has a chance. And there is nothing in this world, or worse, in this world, than thinking you have a chance when you really don't. And then she's, like, using the Judy doll as, like... as, like, a pointer. Yeah, and then Christina's like, Meredith is right. Tell her there's someone else. Tell her why, George. I mean, at least give her the chance to have some feelings, for God's sake.
And Izzy and George are just looking at the two of them like, what the hell?
Why are you yelling at me? Because of the estrogen,
George. Because of all the estrogen. And they both just look so pissed off. And George is like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah, I mean, Meredith and Christina, like, tear him a new asshole in this scene. And then Izzy's like, so new subject.
Izzy's just like, oh my god. The two of them have so much anger between the two of them. It's terrifying.
I know.
They're going to, like, bomb the world.
So that line from Meredith was obviously about Derek lying to her for 2 months. And Christina is about, like, Burke having all the control.
About how she feels.
The writing is so tight in these episodes. Like, everything, like, it seems like every line has a meaning. You know, there's a purpose for every line. Derek is still trying to one-up Burke like he's a schoolgirl, as usual. Well, your crowd is my seriously overbooked, and my seriously overbooked is a mess. Thanks, Derek. Thanks for making that. And then Burke should just be like, I hate you, and then just like walk away.
Burke just like slaps him on the face and just walks away.
Or just like messes up his hair. Have fun.
That'd be so funny.
Makes him like, here, can you hold this chart? Yeah, sure. And then slaps it out of his hand. Jumps out a window.
So then we go back. Meredith and Mr. Hubble are talking, and she's just trying to like understand, you know, like his desperation, blah blah blah. And she just goes, I'm just trying to understand here, Mr. Hubble, why 10 dolls? And he goes, well, because 11 would have been too much.
That's how I want to live my life. I want to work that into my everyday conversations.
I just love, like, this is such, like, he has such a weird storyline, but it's just so...
He's so awesome. Like, okay, what I've realized is that all my favorite patients on this show are the ones that, like, are unashamed of how weird they are.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always the best. And then Izzy's trying to, like, psychoanalyze this man. She's like, I think it has something to do with his mother. Maybe she always wanted a girl, gave him Judy dolls for his birthday. Because they're all in the surgery right now. Like, you know... Pulling them out of his intestines. Mm-hmm. And then we learned something about Bailey. She collects Judy doll heads. Or, not heads.
Oh my God.
Just the dolls.
That would be terrifying. You just, like, walk into Bailey's house and you just have shelves upon shelves. It's, like, just, like, 3, like, walls of her house. You just, like, walk into a room and just, like, the 3 walls you can see are all just, like, shelves of Judy heads.
And then she has, like, the body, like, corpses in the basement.
And they're all just, like, staring at you. And you're like, oh my God.
No matter where you stand in the room, they all stare at you.
Oh my God.
And then, like, the bodies are just, like, scattered around the rest of the house.
She's
hey,
like,
this is Maud Judy.
She used the body as, like, the, like, table legs or something.
Or, like,
she made, like, an end table with them or something. Like, the stand of a lamp.
like the handle of like a frying pan. She's one of...
Oh my God. Parallel universe, Bailey. For the creepy ass Judy doll house.
Oh my God. The studs are made of Judy dolls.
You like sit down on the couch and it's like woven from like Judy doll hair.
Oh my God, that's so gross. There's a lot of hair in your drains. Yeah, it's all Judy dolls.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna leave before you murder me. Oh my God. Seriously, you can identify these dolls by their heads? You got a problem with that, Yang? I like Judy dolls. I own Judy dolls. The only problem I have with Judy dolls is that they're in the bowel of this man.
My favorite. Yes, Maud Judy came with a yellow Vespa.
Yeah, you know what's strange? Haven't we already had enough strange? And Meredith's face in the scene is like, I don't care about what I'm doing at all. Like, Meredith is like Chanel number 3 from Scream Queen. She's like, yeah, I'm just here, indifference. And then Bailey goes, she looks a lot like you.
Which is terribly creepy.
It's actually true, though. Like, I looked at it, and it does look like Meredith.
It's kind of creepy.
And Bailey's like, heck yeah, it does.
And I like how Bailey's just kind of like she's almost like happy about it. She's like, hey, this one kind of looks like you. And you're like, ooh.
You're like, want to come over later? So George's new patient arrives, and this is the one that, like, the heart is still beating. Yeah, it's a donor. Which is, like I said earlier, what I think, like, Meredith and George's relationship possibly has a beating heart now. Maybe Meredith and Derek. Who knows? I like the possibilities
I like how he just,
here.
like, tries to make a joke. Well, this one's heart's still beating, and everyone's like, shut up, George.
And Olivia's just like, I'm gonna slap you. And then he starts doing tests on her or whatever, finds out that she's decerebrate, I think is how you pronounce it. Commercial, basically. And then Leah, cut back to Leah. It's so, the thing about this storyline is that it's so true. Like, it's so,
I think
it happens, you know what I mean? Like, it's scary true.
As I say, like, I think it's almost sad. Like, this interaction between her and Christina, to me, like, I feel like normally, like, in any other, like, patient, like, so many other patients, they would, like, say these things, like, have you ever been in love, doctor? Like, I could totally see, like, Zona saying that, like, have you ever been in love? And, like, it being totally annoying.
And Meredith is like, I'm gonna rip your spine out through your mouth.
Yeah, but, like, when Leah says it and you just think about her situation, it's so sad because...
Well, it's like it's like she in her head. Like, you look at her face and she's just like, I'm proving the best point right now. Like, I'm coming out on top. And it's like, no, like, you're missing the whole...
Yeah, because...
It's so sad.
And the fact of the matter is like, she thinks she's in love with this man who's beating her. And, like, the fact of the matter is like, there's probably someone that's, like, so much better out there for her.
Yeah.
And, like, would treat her so much better. But, like, this is what she knows and this is what she thinks she's in love with. And it's just so sad.
Well, yeah, and it's like... But I think that one line where she's like, you ever been in love, doctor? And then she, like, does this face to Christina, like, yeah, I pulled that one out. Like, I'm totally right now. Like, I'm totally, like, proving my point. And Christina's like, no, sweetie, you're proving my point. Like, you've been, like, almost brainwashed into loving somebody who beats you.
Yeah. Well, it's also, like, I mean, I don't really know that much about, like, people who are, like, abuse cases and stuff. But, like, the thing is, like, this is probably, like,
realistic.
Like, the only love that she's ever known. And so I think, like, in some ways, like, this might be what she thinks love is.
Well, also, like, just because he's the father of your son doesn't mean, like, you know, like, it might be something like that. Like, well, he's Scotty's father, you know, like.
Yeah.
And I love my son.
Mm-hmm. Or then you have, like, some people who just, like, really believe marriage vows are, like, for better or for worse or anything. But there's, like, I think there's a point where you have to be, like...
And then Christina says it. Love has its limits. You know, there are limits to love. Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like it's just more than love. Like, relationships in general have their limits. Like, there is only so much of some things that, like, you can take from your relationships with people. And even if they're family and even if they're, you know, whatever, they can't abuse you.
Yeah. Like, emotionally or physically, but especially physically. But anyway, I really like that patient, but you're right. It's like she almost can't annoy me because it's just so tragic. Like, you know how a lot of the patients on this show annoy us? Mm-hmm. But this one, it's like I almost can't because it's just so sad. Mm-hmm. So I love this scene where Meredith is, like, it's Derek and George are checking out the patient, and Burke comes, and, like, Christina's, like, standing on one end of the hallway, Meredith on the other end of the hallway, and they're both watching, like, their men. Meredith is, like, watching Derek, and then, like, Christina's watching Burke, and they're watching them interact. I've always loved this scene because there's something about Ellen's face where it's like she plays the I don't care, but, like, there's, like, this glint in her eye, and I have a screenshot, and it's just so good. Like, oh, there's something about it. Just the concept, the way it's blocked and everything, like the blocking in this scene, it's just awesome. One more thing that I'll add is that, like, there's no dialogue between, like, it's something that, like, if you were looking down and, like, you know, doing homework and just had it on in the background, you would think it's just, like, Burke and Derek talking medical to each other. Mm-hmm. But if you're, like, watching closely, you see all the like, subtext? Yeah, subtext happening in this scene where it's, like, Meredith and Christina keep locking eyes with each other and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think it just shows more, like, all the different relationships because, you know, you have obviously them and their romantic relationships, but then you also have Burke and Derek kind of getting over their their issues or whatever, you know, like they're trying to one up each other, and Burke finally being like, no, you know what, like, he's my neurosurgeon, and if he wants to do this, like, I'm going to be professional and, like, have a professional relationship with this doctor who I'm going to work with, and I'm going to trust him on this.
Well, Burke is the bigger man. But when he goes, like, if my head of neurosurgeon says I need an MRI, then I need an MRI. So this is possibly, we're going to cut over to Scott and Alex, and this is possibly one of the best, like, Alex scenes we've gotten in the whole show. Where, like, I feel like we've almost seen him as kind of, like, a sub-tier character, and now he's, like, definitely up with the rest of the five. Like, he almost seemed like a male version of Christina, but now we see that there's a lot that his character has to offer.
And I think the amazing thing is, from what we've seen in this episode and from what we've gotten a glimpse at of Alex's past, I think we would all 100% understand if Alex looked at Scotty and was like, don't give your father your liver, like, he doesn't deserve it. And yet Alex, I think the way he treats this situation and what he says to Scotty is amazing. And he's like telling him, like, don't make this decision based on anger.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the little story he says, my anger had a life of its own. I bulked up, became a wrestler, and the next time he laid a hand on my mother, I beat the living crap out of him. When he got out of the hospital, he took off. Just took off and never came back. He was a cold, mean-tempered bastard, but he was still my old man, you know? But now I can't stop wishing that I had never laid a hand on him. Wish somehow that I could have worked it through. And I just like how that kind of shows, like, Alex being almost like a bigger person and just kind of being like...
Well, showing his regrets, you know?
And showing that's like, yeah, you know, like, this man beats your mom and stuff, but, like, at the end of the day, he's still your dad. And, like, will you regret it in 20 years or, you know, however many years if you don't give him your liver?
Yeah. Like, yes, he beats your mother, but, like, there are other ways to solve this problem than to, like, almost...
Then
like,
basically to sentence him to death.
Yeah. It's like...
You know, like, obviously, like, you know, he wasn't the one who crashed the car and anything. Like, you know, obviously, like, if he died, like, it would be like, yeah, well, you know, you crashed your own car.
Well, and death is so final. Like, Scotty will always wonder, like, what if I had, like, given him the liver, and, like, what if we, like, worked something out, you know? Yeah.
And so we skip over, and this, again, like, this full scene when it's all of them talking, you know, about, like, and Sky's making a decision. He's doing the same kind of, like, beat thing.
Mm-hmm. The boom, 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 boom. And then he finally stops. And when he stops, everyone in the room looks over at him. I like that.
And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. And then he goes, I have a couple of conditions. We're going to tell the cops the truth about what happened in this accident, Mom. And as soon as we get back home, you and I are moving out. Enough is enough. That one's good. Like, that gives me, like, goosebumps, honestly, when I watch it.
And I just like that. Because, like, it's just a thing of, like, you know, like, being angry and vengeful, like, isn't necessarily the answer. Like, there are other ways. I don't know.
But then we get kind of like a mirror shot with Christina and Burke. So Christina goes, you know, she's just going to go back to him.
Well, I don't know that. It's not your call. Well, Christina, I was wondering, I was hoping that we can, I know we didn't.
You're asking me.
Are you okay?
Can I scrub in? Then yes, Dr. Burke, I'm okay. The social skills in this scene.
Such a weird interaction. And I'm so confused because it's like, obviously he was asking her, like, are you okay, like, and, like, what happened to us? And I think she is taking it as an, are you okay with this case? Where she's like, can I scrub in?
I don't know what it is. I feel like...
Or, like, are you, like, I think she's almost taking it as, like, are you okay to continue on with this case? Like, even though you feel, like, this passionate towards it or something?
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like she... That is it's like a quirky little scene, and I love it, though. Like, we always make fun of how, like, unsocial, like, these two characters are, but, like, I love it. I love them because, like, whenever there's a scene between Christina and Burke, whenever you think they're gonna zig, they zag. You know what I mean? Whenever you think it's gonna go left, it goes right. And it's just... I always love them.
So let me cut over.
Derek, you ever have a crappy day, O'Malley? I mean, really crappy, like... My day yesterday when my wife came out of nowhere, broke up my relationship with your roommate, and has made twice as many friends in 2 days that I made in 2 months.
And George is just like, what?
And George is like, okay. Oh, but this is nice. When Derek goes, look out for her. And George is kind of confused, and he goes, Meredith? And Derek just kind of like sadly goes, yeah.
Well, it's just kind of like Derek finally accepting that, like, Meredith needs to not, like, be away
space.
From him. Yeah. And I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's actually, like, I feel like the audience is a little uneasy about Derek right now, but it's like, at the end of the day, no matter what he did, he actually does care. Like, it's not like he doesn't care that he hurt her.
It's just a sweet little, like, look out for her. Like, and you're like, oh, he does have a little heart in that little teenage girl body.
Yeah. So we cut over to George and Olivia, and the family of the dead motorcyclist is finally here, and he finally explains to Olivia. Do you want to do his little monologue?
Sure. Look, maybe I'm not over the Alex thing or the Sif thing yet. That's not really the problem. There's a girl who and it doesn't matter. There's this other guy, and frankly, I wouldn't care if she gave me the Ebola virus. I like you, Olivia. But I just don't like you enough.
And then Olivia was like, thanks for being honest, whatever. And then she goes, you know what you're going to tell them?
Why do we hump on every dead or dying patient that comes through those doors?
Experience?
So we can tell their family that we did everything we could.
Yeah, that's it. That got me. Like, I love that line. It's so good. Because it's like a throwaway moment in the beginning of the episode. And then they turn around and make it a huge, like, meaningful thing.
Because it means so much, because then you see, you know, like, and they're talking about, you know, like, not that we did everything we could. It's like, it's such a good metaphor for, like, all of the different relationships, because, you know, you look back and I feel like all the other relationships we really get in this show, we don't really see the characters kind of doing everything they can to, or, you know, it's also proving the point of, even if you do everything you can, you know, Derek telling Meredith about what really happened and all that stuff, that sometimes everything you can do, it's sometimes not enough.
It's not enough, yeah. Enough is enough, yeah.
And it's like sometimes it is, you know, like with George being honest, and he's doing everything he can to be honest to Olivia, and she's like, okay, like, that's fine, you know, like, that's enough, but like, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Sometimes you can give everything you can to a relationship and it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So, this is the scene where Derek and Addison are in the elevator. I love this scene so much. Mm-hmm. Derek is being a catty little 5-year-old again, and he goes, just when the day was improving. And Addison goes, you told Meredith what happened? And then he gives her, like, this look like, yeah, I did. What did you tell her? You want to be Addison?
Mm-hmm. That sometimes people do desperate things to attract attention.
What? Wow. That's your side of this? That I didn't pay you enough attention? Is that what you were thinking when you got naked with my best friend?
No. By that point, I wasn't thinking at all, Derek. By that point, I was just scratching an itch. We got successful, you and me. We got busy and we got lazy. We didn't even bother to fight anymore, Derek. And Mark was there, and I missed you. And now I'm sorry. I'm more sorry than you can possibly imagine. But at least I'm talking to you about it. Yeah. And so I think that's her kind of being like, we haven't given it all.
Yeah, we haven't tried.
Done everything we can.
Done everything we can.
And she's like, at least I'm trying to do everything I can.
But, like, now, like, we got so much out of this one little speech. We got, like, why she cheated, that she regrets it and she still wants him, that she's not just this, like, ice queen, that she's very vulnerable, and that's why it happened in the first place. Mm-hmm. And yeah, oh god, grays, shades of gray, man. And then What Can I Say by Brandi Carlile comes on. This is my favorite song of all time. Like, I love this song. And this is so amazing. Derek goes, I'm a sink with an open drain, Addie. Perfect. Oh god, I love this show. The mirroring from the beginning of the, like, episode to the end. Derek using Meredith's line is just, like, so perfect. Like, literally couldn't have said a better thing in this situation.
I love, like, this love triangle is full of the fact that some things just can never be enough. Mm-hmm. You know, like, no matter what Addison says, Derek will never really understand, you know, or forgive her for sleeping with his best friend. And the same with Meredith, you know, like,
that's what makes it so tragic.
She, like, won't understand. Like, no matter what he says or what he does, she still has that kind of thought in the back of her head of, like, he didn't tell me about Addison.
Mm-hmm. Wait, yeah. It's like Addison wants Derek, but Derek is too angry to even try with her. Derek wants Meredith, but Meredith is too angry to even try with him. Yeah. It's so complex. What a great love triangle. This is one of the best. I love this one. So then we cut over to Mr. Hubble and Meredith, and he goes, she goes, how do you feel? And he goes, empty. I feel empty now. And then Meredith, Ellen Pompeo, oh my god, she's amazing. She goes, yeah, I've been feeling a little bit of that myself lately. And then I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, do you ever, like, watch a TV show or a movie and you're just like, yeah, they picked the right actor. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel when Ellen talks as Meredith. Every single line she says feels like there's double meaning here. And it's like, you picked the perfect actor for this part.
I just like that because we finally kind of understand how Mr. Hubble kind of relates to everything. Mm-hmm. Because, in essence, he ate the Judy dolls because he felt empty, which sounds...
Because he's sad.
Crazy.
Basically. Yeah.
But, I mean, people do crazy things when they're sad.
Well, he feels...
Empty
emotionally, so he tried to fill himself up physically.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's weird the way he tried, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then we end the whole episode with Burke walking around from basically into each storyline and looking from like a distance. So he watches Bailey throw away the Judy doll heads. You know, he sees like Scotty and all. And, yeah. How do you feel about the end of that? Like the way that they end it with Burke, the interim chief, walking around the hospital. He sees Christina too.
I don't know. I kind of like it. Like
I love it. It's one of my favorite ways to end a Grey's Anatomy episode.
I was gonna say it's such an effective way to end the episode. It's like just tying up all of the storylines into little bows, like, and just kind of being like.
And I found it so interesting that they used Burke. I feel like he's one of the characters that the audience has not like learned a lot about and hasn't connected to that much, and so like we get to see the end of an episode from his point of view, which makes it so interesting. Like they didn't pick Meredith, the main character; they picked Burke.
I'm kind of, like the only thing that I'm kind of confused about is just like how it's supposed to match up with like the closing voiceover.
All right. Well, do you want to read it?
Sure. There's something to be said about a glass half full, about knowing when to say when. I think it's a floating line, a barometer of need and desire. It's entirely up to the individual and depends on what's being poured. Sometimes all we want is a taste. Other times there's no such thing as enough. The glass is bottomless, and all we want is more.
So I don't think Burke himself matches up with the whole closing monologue. But this is specifically one of the monologues where you have to watch it. The specific sentence that's being said matches up with something that's happening on screen. Like, I remember specifically, and depends on what's being poured, is said when Bailey is looking at the Judy doll heads. So obviously that matches up. And then and all we want is more matches up when Burke turns and Meredith is standing there in the gallery, which is creepy. She was just standing behind him, but whatever. That's so, and the way that they ended the episode, all we want is more. Meredith is standing there. It's like, Meredith wants Derek. Like, you can tell. She wants him because she's in love with him. Yeah. She wants more. But, like, at the same time, she's so angry at him. It's so tragic.
It's holding her back.
Yeah. All we want is more, but the glass is bottomless, you know? Like, right now in this moment, there is no way that he can make it up to her, even though she wants him to be able to. It's great way to end it. Seriously, count 5. All right, I have 7 patient rankings.
I had 6.
All right, 7 is the chief still collecting those benefits.
6 is Mr. Siebert. Just 'cause,
that was mine too.
Like,
we never see him really.
I was gonna say, like, he just doesn't do anything. So like,
he drives the plot, but he's not like a part of the plot really.
Which is kind of interesting. Like, anyway.
It's similar to like how they never gave the rapist in the second episode any lines of dialogue, and we saw it all from the abused point of view.
But it's kind of like
this. Yeah, exactly.
Like mirroring it because this is the second episode. Oh, fascinating.
That is cool.
My 5 is Mrs. Siebert. I feel like all of the patients in this episode were so good. So like, even though she's like one of my last patients, like, she still did a lot for the plot. Like,
yeah. Mine is George's like decerebrate patient.
That's my number 4. Is the girl who was supposed to donate organs but didn't.
Yeah. I find that so crazy how like they were almost donating her organs and then they brought her back. Like Derek was like, yeah, we can bring her back to life. I was like, oh my god, that's so scary. My number 4 is Leah, Mrs. Siebert. Yeah.
My number 3 is George's dead patient.
I found out his name is Ted.
Interesting.
Because he's my number 3 too.
Oh, that's right, because at the end he goes, are you Ted's family?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's mostly just because of so we can tell his family we did everything we could. That one line. Well, and it just had such good meaning, like, not only for George, but, like, for the entire episode. The whole episode. And it's just beautifully, it's so profound, just in general. Like, this is a primetime show that came on, like, ABC, and they're writing, like, it's a best-selling novel.
My number 2 is Mr. Hubble.
My number 2 is actually Scotty. And I guess he's not number 1 because of my number 1. I'll explain it in a minute.
I put Scotty as my number 1. I don't know, for some reason, Alex is just still, like, you know, however many seasons I'm in on the show, he's still just such a mystery for me, and I just love those, like, and I just like seeing him as, like, you know, he's still that kind of bad boy, like, evil spawn thing, but I just love how, like, he was able to be a bigger person and kind of tell Scotty and be like, don't make this decision based on anger, like.
What I think they do well with Alex in season 2 is that they let him be a bad boy evil spawn, but at the same time they make him have moments where he's a good person.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of shows are like, oh, well, he's a bad boy, so we're gonna make him a good man, and then we'll never see him be a bad boy anymore. It's like, no, that doesn't happen. Like, when you are emotionally like traumatized when you're a young kid, like he was, you know, his father was abusive, his mom was like on drugs or whatever, like, you don't just like become a good man, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of time.
His dad was on drugs too.
Yeah, I think he was. But anyway, my number 1 is Mr. Hubble, and I just enjoyed the heck out of that patient. Like, the whole, like, I feel empty now. Yeah, I've been feeling a little bit of that myself lately. Ugh.
He's just so cute.
Ugh. And he's, like, so weird, but I love him so much. He's definitely, like, in my top season 2 patients, I think.
He's great.
I have no make one changes.
No.
All right, so if you like the podcast, please go rate and review us on iTunes. If you want to get in touch with us, we're both on Twitter. I'm at @hazard_Emily, and Becca is at Anderson_Becca. We also have an account for the podcast, which is @Gray's Uncut. A longer question or comment can be sent to our email, which is graysanatomy_uncut@gmail.com. And next week, we're doing Season 2, Episode 3, Make Me Lose Control, written by Krista Vernoff, directed by Adam Davidson. Both of whom I have done episodes in the past. Like, I recognize both those names.
Yeah.
Yeah. James D. Parriott, like, for all the mistakes he made with Zona, holy crap, he came back with fire in this episode. Good job.
Great episode.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.